Hi, welcome back. Certainly glad you could join us today. I thought today I'd do a painting that's a little bit different. So let's start out and have them run all the colors across the screen. While they're doing that, let me show you what I got going on up here. Have my standard old canvas up here, and I've taken a little piece of contact paper, cut an oval, stuck it on. Then we've painted the inside with black gesso. We've allowed the black gesso to dry completely. It's totally dry. Then over the top of that, I've added a very, very thin coat of liquid clear, just enough to barely cover it. And we've taken blotches of color and just went here and there. Every series needs a crazy day, and I guess this is it. We've taken a little red here and a little phthalo green, a little blue, and I've just put them together. The bottom I've just covered with phthalo blue. So we've got red, phthalo green, phthalo blue. That's all. And you know, if you've painted with me before, you know for many years I lived in the beautiful, beautiful state of Alaska. In fact, about 12 years I lived in Alaska. And way back in one of the early series, I did a Northern Lights painting. And I've had so many comments about it, and so many people have said, do another one. I thought today we would just do the Northern Lights. So I'll show you how simple it is. We'll start out, take the fan brush, and we just sort of lay out where these curtains of light will be. That's sort of what they're called in Alaska, is curtains of light. And I'm just tapping a little white paint right on top of all the color that we have here. All right, and you just sort of figure out where they are. Now, to me, the Northern Lights are one of the most gorgeous phenomena that happens in nature. As I say, I lived for 2 years in Anchorage, and then for, nearly 10 years right outside of Fairbanks, Alaska, in a little town called North Pole. And we used to go out at night, Jane and I did, and we would watch the Northern Lights, and they're one of the most gorgeous sights imaginable. There. I don't paint them very often on television because unless you live in the far north, you probably don't get to see these very often. But today, this is what they look like. We just make our little bits of color, and then we'll take and we'll begin lifting that up. Just lift it up. And that's simple. That's simple. We have instant Northern Lights. And that's something. That's all there is to it. Every once in a while, I'll beat the brush just to knock off any excess paint that we've picked up. There. Recently, my friend Rick, who lives in Alaska still, that I used to paint with years ago, sent me a videotape. I believe it was produced by the University of Alaska. And I think it's called the Aurora Explained. It is one of the most gorgeous pieces of film I have ever seen on the Northern Lights. There. But it shows things like this. But this piece of film actually shows them moving. It's very hard to photograph them. I think they must have a camera that takes very high-speed pictures. Because I used to try to take still pictures of it, and it's very difficult. And see, that's basically all there is to it. That gives us Northern Lights in our sky. All right, let's just wash this old brush, have some fun here. As you know, we wash our brush with odorless paint thinner. Shake it off. And just beat the devil out of it. All right. We have a few little Northern Lights, so in the back here, let's just start building some things. If you've never been to Alaska, it's one of those places that if you have the opportunity, you ought to go see it. I'm serious. It is, as I've said before, when God made Alaska, he was having a good day. You know, some days everything works. And I think when God made Alaska, he was having one of those days. It is fantastic. All right. I'm taking a little bit of Prussian blue, a little bit of white, and we're going to make, a blue color about like so. Doesn't much matter. That's pretty close, maybe a little darker. Yeah, that's it right there. I like that. Okay, let me wipe the knife off. And let's take... we just use that same fan brush. Doesn't matter. I'm lazy, don't want to have to clean a brush. I'm going to load it full of this blue color, Prussian blue and white. That's all it is. Okay, both sides are full of color. Let's go up in here. Now, we have to make our first major decisions. Maybe there's some little trees that live back here. I'm not even going to put a mountain in this today. Alaska has some of the most gorgeous mountains in the world. But there's also areas you go to where you don't see the mountain, especially at night. There. All right. We'll just put a whole bunch of little trees back here. See how easy they are? This will give you some practice making little trees. Take the corner of the brush, work back and forth and back, just like so. Make all these happy little trees wherever you think they should live. And you put as many or as few as you want in your world. Wherever. Maybe one more right here. What the heck? We can have as many trees as we want. And there's some right here, so you can see right through them and see the lights behind them. You know, unless you've ever seen the Northern Lights, it's very hard to imagine. They go sometime from horizon to horizon. They are just one of the most spectacular sights, and they can be any color of the rainbow. I've seen everything from red to green to yellow. Just, it's hard to imagine unless you see them. And on a very, very quiet night, if you get far away from town and all the city noises and etc., you can hear them. They make little crackling noises. There. My mother, when she was still with us, came to Alaska and stayed with me for nearly a year. And I think that was one of her most popular sights. She would stay up till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning just to go out and watch the Northern Lights. There. All right. Maybe one more little tree right there. It's our world. We can put one there if we want. Okay. Now I'm going to I'll get another fan brush. I've got several of them going here. Take a little bit of white, and we'll put some phthalo blue with it. So we got white and phthalo blue. Phthalo blue is a much lighter blue than Prussian blue. Sparkles. Let me wipe the old knife. And maybe I'll take the least little touch of liquid white. Least little touch, just enough to thin this a small amount so it'll stick easier. I'm using number 3 fan brush right here, but you use whatever size you want. It doesn't matter. I'm loading it back up full of color. Okay, let's go up in here. And let's just indicate a few highlights. I don't want a lot. Just a few. Use just the corner of the brush. Just a few happy little highlights. Make these little evergreens sparkle. There. Okay, here we are. A few more over in here. This little tree needs some. When we sparkle him, he'll stand out from the lights that are behind him. There. Isn't that something? Very simple. Okay. All right, there we go. A few over in here. But once again, I'm trying not to kill all the dark areas. Don't want to kill all the dark areas. Just enough to put a few little sparklers. That's enough. Okay, let's have some fun. We'll grab another fan brush. I have several, so I don't have to spend all my time just washing brushes. We'll go into titanium white, just pure color. Load a lot of color into the bristles, something like so. And let's go up here, and maybe you see the Northern Lights mostly in the winter time. And there's a very, very easy reason for that. In the summertime, it doesn't get dark, so you couldn't see them. They're probably there, but you just can't see them. There, but in the wintertime, it's dark a lot in Alaska. Where I lived, it got down to under 4 hours of daylight. Whew, yeah, you'd go to work and it was dark, you'd come home and it was dark. And that bothers a lot of people. But I didn't mind. I find as much beauty in the winter in Alaska as I did in the summer. It's just different. And being a little Florida boy, I was raised in Florida. I had never even seen snow before I went to Alaska. I actually thought that ice was something that just grew in the refrigerator. I didn't know it actually grew out here on the land. But I went to Alaska and I was so amazed because it was so radically different than everything that I had grown up with. That I just sort of went crazy over it. And I'm still fascinated by it. I want a little cabin out here. Shoot, I've always wanted a little cabin in Alaska. Show you how easy it is. Take your knife, just scrape out a very basic little idea of where you want the cabin to be. This does two things. It allows you to lay the basic shape out, and it removes excess paint. So your next layer sticks much easier. So you've sort of got a layout there, and you're absolutely not committed. I'm going to take a little Van Dyke brown, a little dark sienna, mix them together, get a little roll of paint, and let's build us a cabin. We'll do the back eave first. That easy. We'll come back, and we'll just block it in. In other words, we're just piling it full of color. Van Dyke brown, dark sienna. All right, over on this side, color. See there? As I say, it really doesn't matter. You take your knife, scrape it off, start over at this point, and you would not have heard a thing. Not a thing. Okay, let's see here. Let me find a place to work. I've used up all my space, even on a palette this big. Take a little dark sienna, a little white, mix them together, cut off our little roll of paint. Let's go up in here. Touch, just like you're putting snow on the mountain. Barely, barely touch, barely touch. Just graze it. Want to look like old weathered wood. It's like me, it's had a rough life. Tired. There. Now much darker color for over here, because in my mind, if the northern lights are producing our light in this painting, wouldn't as much hit over here. A little bit of Van Dyke brown with a knife, and we can just touch the canvas and make the indication of some little boards. Something about like that. And we need a door in our little cabin. So we just take a little dark color, a little brown, Van Dyke brown. That easy. We'll put us in a little door. Take a little light color and just sort of outline it. There. Now we can come back. Let me wipe the knife off here. Now we can come back and work on our perspective a little bit. See, we can do a cabinectomy and just cut it off wherever we want it. It's our cabin. We can cut it any way we want it. Now, go into a little bit of the titanium white. And let's put some snow up here on the roof. Now back here. There we are, see? Now very gently, just pull it down. Over here. That easy. That's all there is to it. You can just smooth it out a little. There we go. See there? And that easy. We got a happy little cabin. Now we need a little bit of snow on the other side of the roof because it's thick. Thick snow. There. Straighten his little edges out. Now you can make this very smooth or you can leave it rough. It's up to you. It's up to you. Sometimes I like to leave it rough because the snow gets like that. Especially if you have a fire in the cabin and don't have very good insulation. Part of it starts melting. I'm going to take my liner brush and just dip it in a little liquid white. And with that, put the indication of some icicles hanging off here. Ooh, really cold. This is just liquid white. There we are. See? That's all there is to it. Now, go back to our little fan brush that had the titanium white on it. And we can lay in our snow again. We sort of messed it up when we did our cabinectomy. But we just put it back in. No big deal. In our world, we can change things any way we want to, whenever we want to. And maybe be brave. Maybe there's another little hill right there. That easy. You can put it in. See there? That's all there is to it. You can just put in these little things wherever you want them. In your world, you have total and complete power. And you can do these things. There. That's a natural place for a little pond. Maybe we'll put one in there. All right. I've got one fan brush left. Clean off a little spot to work. I'm going to take some black Prussian blue. Something like so. And let's take, I'll take the old fan brush. And let's just load it full of color, a lot of paint. A lot of paint. Okay, let's go right up in here. All right, maybe in our world there lives a tree right there on that little hill, that little evergreen. Probably not going to be able to see that against the dark, but it's there. Okay, now as I get into that area right there, there's already paint on the canvas. I'm going to add a small amount of paint thinner to my brush and go back through the paint. That thins the paint, and as you know, a thin paint will stick to a thick paint. Thin to thick, thin to thick. There we are. We'll put a little tree, it lives right there. Something about like that. Let's give him a friend. You know me, I think everybody needs a friend. Load a little more paint. His friend lives right there. Right there. There. All right. And you can take the brush and go straight in and give it, I'm going to bend it upward. See? That's all we're doing, just giving it a little upward bend. And we could make a little grassy area. Shoot, who knows, maybe there's one over here on this side too. Just something around the little cabin. This guy's probably like me, doesn't cut his grass very well, and it's grown up, and in the wintertime it dies and just leaves all those little things in there. There we go. Now, let me wash that old brush out. I'm gonna wipe it off first. And it's not as much fun to wash the fan brush as it is the big brush. It didn't make near the mess. There. Okay. Take a little bit of that Prussian blue and white. We'll just put the indication of a little tree trunk here and there. I don't want it to be very distinct. There, maybe a little one here. I know that's hard to see, but it is there. Now we take a little bit of white. Oh, there it is. We had a little phthalo blue and white left up here. There, load a lot of color into the bristles. There, but see, both sides of the bristles are good and full of color. There we are. And let's go back up in here and we'll highlight this little rascal. There, now he stands out. Now he stands out. Okay, add a little paint thinner to that. Once again, there's a lot of paint there. But a little paint thinner. Paint thinner will not change the color. So, and we'll just pop in some little indications, a few little highlights here and there. Maybe a little more white so it shows up better. Going to dip the brush into the smallest amount of liquid white just to thin it once again. And you go right back over that and pop in little things. There. A few little things up here. Yeah, that looks better. I like it better. Little snow-covered grassy areas. There, a few right in here. You need that dark underneath, though, to make them show. All right. Script liner brush. A little paint thinner, a little bit of that. This is phthalo blue with just a touch of phthalo blue and titanium white, and then I took paint thinner. Load the brush full of paint. Turn it in that thin paint. That'll load the bristles very full. There we go. Something about like that. And if we can take that, and we'll just put in a few little sticks and twigs and all those little things that live back here against the tree. Isn't that neat? Peapod, my little pocket squirrel, he wouldn't like it here. It's too cold. Though there are little squirrels that live in Alaska. Little gray squirrels live there. Yeah, all kinds of animals live there. When we lived in North Pole, there used to be a big moose, a big cow moose, that would come and graze in our yard 2 or 3 times a week. I have just gobs of photographs of her in the yard. And we would just stand there. She was almost on the verge of being tame. You couldn't walk completely up to her, but she literally would eat in the yard. What a sight. She must have weighed 1,000 pounds or more. And to have a great big moose right out there in the yard eating was just unreal. Take a little bit of titanium white here, just a small amount. I want to turn this into water. Maybe there's a little pond here. We don't know for sure if it's frozen Or maybe it's just awful cold. We don't know. Pull straight down. Straight down. Something about like that. And then go across. That easy. There. Maybe just a little more. I want a little more right there. Now, let me get a little more color on the brush. Yeah, there. See, we'll just reflect that right into the water. Something like so. And then gently go across. It's important, though, that these reflections go straight down. If they don't, they just won't look right. There. All right. Take a little touch of the liquid white. Pull it out very flat. Very, very flat. And take the knife and cut across. I don't know if you can see. Let me try that again. Pull it out flat and cut across. There's just a small little roll of paint up on top of the blade right here. Just a little. And with that, we can go right up in here and just cut in a happy little water line. There. There we go. Just a little one right up in here. There we are. And maybe right on out through here. Wherever you think they should be. There. Okay. And we can take our little fan brush that has the white paint on it. And we can go back over in here, pick up a little more of the titanium white. I'm just going to load the brush full of color. There we are. And let's go right up in here. Maybe there's a little rock out here in the water that's all covered with snow, and all we can see is just snow. There, see? We can reflect a little of that down here. Take our brush, pull that down just like we did up here. Same thing. Go across. And we can take our knife with a little bit of the liquid white on it and just put a happy little water line around it. That easy. And you can put as many little stones out here as you want. Totally and completely up to you. You can cut through the paint here and there and let some of that black canvas show through, and it looks like little sticks that live right in there. See them? And you didn't have to do a thing. All right. Maybe right over in here. Up to you. You decide where all these little things live in your world. Okay. And you could really get even crazier. Shoot, let's have some fun. We got a second left here. Maybe we could take a little bit of, I've got Van Dyke brown on the little filbert brush. Maybe there's what remains out here of an old fence. Maybe just right out like that. Not much of it remains anymore. Take a little brown and white. Put a little highlight on one side. There. And we can come right back. Maybe there's an old still on there. Maybe there's only one on that one. Something about like that. And we'll take liquid white, just straight liquid white on the brush. I'm going to put the indication that there's some snow laying up on top of this old fence, and it's sort of pulled down. There's a little up here. But let it just hang over like there's icicles. Make it cold. There. A little more of the liquid white. Maybe there's a little up here. See there? That easy. Just put them little rascals in there, wherever you want them. Okay. Back to our little brush that has the white on it. Clean the foots of this fence up. Shoot, I think we about have a finished painting here. All right. Tell you what, the moment of truth. Let's pull the contact paper off and see what our little painting looks like. This is always the time that I look forward to. All right. Look at that. Northern Lights are doing their thing. I'm going to take a little bit of red, a little paint thinner, script liner brush, and I think we'll sign this little painting. I really hope you've enjoyed it. If you get a chance, try painting the Northern Lights. I think you'll find it exciting. It's one of the most beautiful scenes, and it's very, very simple to do. And until next time, from all of us here, I'd like to wish you happy painting, and God bless, my friend.